Well, welcome back. Quick midweek stream. I decided to do a special stream in the middle of the week because I wanted to touch a very specific topic. And for that topic, I had to move the printer to the side. So yes, tonight you see a different layout, a little bit more space again. Not such a big frame, but welcome back. And I hope you've been able to watch some of the previous videos. If you're watching this at a later stage, there's quite a few tips and tricks that have been shared, and trying to detail this process as best we can. At the same time, we're trying to learn how to be more proficient at streaming. So any feedback at any stage, put comments in the comment section, and I'll get back to you. All feedback is welcome. So tonight I want to first focus on bed and sticking the sticker, the magnetic sticker and the heated bed to the actual build plate. There's quite a few simple ways of doing it, but because I've experienced a very wobbly build plate when I've done my mesh with my probe, and it looks like a value of 1,000 waves. I've also seen that there's probably a better way to do it, and a not so better way. Now, I'm not going to say you must follow this method. I'm just going to go on what I feel is best, and I will then show you what I think works and why I think it works. I will also be referring to a specific YouTube channel where I've picked up the method that I think, and combining that with other places that I've read and watched, this is what I think works for us. So good evening to my father, who's online as well, and I'm sure he's going to love what I'm doing tonight, because he was involved in the previous process with the previous printer when we did this, where we actually stuck the heater bed the wrong way around. Can you believe it? We stuck it wrong. It was a simple little mistake, but it can happen. So tonight we're going to really focus hard on not making that same mistake, because pulling one of these off and sticking it back on, number one, ain't fun. And I'm sure it's not good for the plate, and I'm sure the heated bed will not be as effective as what it used to be. Although I'm still running with that one that I pulled off and stuck back on, and probably the reason why I've got so many bumps and knocks in my plate. But yeah, so let's get going. So I'm just going to quickly switch to a YouTube channel now. This guy, Kepman's Basement Workshops. There are many YouTube channels out there that I can recommend. Lots of them are good. This guy went into a little bit more depth into his search for an absolute flat bed, and I can really recommend you to have a look at his video to check what he did, what he went through. Have a look at what I'm doing tonight, and just use as much resources that are available on the internet to make sure that you're covering all the possible angles before you pull back that sticky sheet. You know, there's lots of other guys that are built as well. So, and then I can't mention them all. Again, there's so many people out there in teaching tech, Nero 3D. I can't even come up with all the names. You know, I don't want to mention anybody specifically that's the best. I think you need to watch as many as you can, really understand, because once you've done this, you've done it. It's finished. And to remove it, you'll see what effort this poor Mr. Kepman went through to actually fix the problem. So let's get going. First of all, do we stick the heater bed, or do we stick the magnet down first onto our build surface? because this is a very well engineered plate and a very expensive plate, it is probably as flat as what we could hope it to be, right? And I would have actually probably liked to, had I had the opportunity to put this bed onto my printer and do a probe before I stuck anything to it. But unfortunately, we're building the machine, so I can't do that. But it would have been good to see what the flatness of the bed was before I stuck this on and after. And you'll see that in his video. It's quite interesting how much deviation he got by using one method that didn't really work that well. So what's very important for me is, number one, I'm working on top of this very flat surface. And believe it or not, if I lift this corner up and I push in the middle, I am going to bend this plate. It might be microns, so small, 0.001 of a millimeter or 0.01 of a millimeter, but I'm going to be able to bend it because all metals have some form of, I don't know what the right terminology is, but in my own, it will have some form of flexible point, right? And so when I'm pushing down on this plate and I'm trying to stick the sticker, if I'm not working on a surface that's very flat and very solid, like a wooden table, wood bends. So if I'm pushing on it, I could be bending the wood and bending the plate at the same time. And it's only fractional, and that you'll see in his video, right? So flat surfaces, hard as possible. Again, I still recommend when you're building this printer, the first thing you do is you're going to go and get yourself one of these marble tops or granite tops, because just even building the frame was an absolute pleasure on that, because I had 100% flat surface to start off with. Then we're not going to start with the heated bed. The temptation is to stick the heated bed first because it's smaller. But as you can see on the heated bed, we have cables coming in, it's going to the heat. We've got thermistors, we've got heat protection thermistor already built in, right? And if you can imagine turning this upside down, and now you've put it on the other side, and now you're pushing down, essentially you're bending over that center line. So by doing that, you could affect the straightness of this plate while sticking it. Now, if your plate is slightly curved and you stick your magnet over that at a later stage, you might not see it, but you're actually pulling in on that bed. So the stress of that bed might actually underheat, remain there, or get worse. So you really want to have that bed under zero stress, as flat as possible, as natural as possible before you stick down. My explanation. You decide whether it makes sense or not, but that's what I've seen, and that's what I believe. So heater bed, second. Let's put that to a side for a while. Okay, magnetic sheet. Now, this magnetic sheet, obviously the build surface is lying to the side. This magnetic sheet we want to get as close as possible to the middle. And there's quite a few methods to do that. You can measure it out with your ruler and use a permanent marker if you want, draw lines. You can measure it out and actually use something like a builder's tape or something like that and stick it along the line where you want to get this magnet to, so that you've actually got two lines that you've pre-measured, and you can pull up and pull down and pull up and down until you've got your lines right, and then you put your sticker down on that. Other method would be to actually use a ruler, one of these meter long type rulers, and the meter long ruler is actually probably a nice way of doing it, but again, you've got to be quite careful of how you're going to do it. Maybe you could tape it down, or it depends on the bed size as well and what you have, but you can get that there and clamp it maybe, That could also work. You clamp that one in one direction and clamp the other one in the other direction. That should give you, if you've got clamps. Most people don't have clamps at home, and so probably using the tape and measuring it out and getting the tape set up front and then sticking the bed according to the tape is the easiest. And it's very easy actually to do it with the tape. For my situation, I have printers and I've got the privilege of being able to print things. So what have I done? I built myself little corner mounts with the right spacing. That means I'm being able to get this magnet stuck in those corners up front, and I'm going to be able to pretty much get it where I want it. Now again, half a millimeter is not here. What it's going to irritate you is on your eye more than it's not going to affect your printing quality. But naturally we want to get it as straight as possible and centered as possible, because that was the whole intention, is to get it in the center. So what I'm going to do is, in my case, I'm going to actually take these and let me switch over to a different camera view, maybe like that for now. You'll see that with these I'm going to be able to put them on the corners like that, and then I'm going to use clamps to hold them in place. That's hence why I'm just overlapping the surface top there. I'm just overlapping so that I can get my clamps underneath. That little bit won't flex, not a centimeter. And I'm going to put my clamps in. And once I've got all my clamps ready, I'm going to then, and I've also got a third one. I've got one up the top here. And I'm going to basically put my heated bed in the right place, get it down, and then just slowly but surely push it into the right place and stick. Right. Now, we obviously can't pull the whole back off, because that will just be a very difficult build going if we do it that way. So we're going to do it piece for piece. So you'll see most guys, they pull off just the corner piece, they fold the actual sticker on the back, they take that and they fold it just a section, then they get the rest of the bed lined up and in the right place, and when they put down that corner, it sticks in the right place. Get that right, then you pick up the other side and you start pulling that sticker from underneath to the opposite corner, right? And you start wiping it as you're pulling that sticker out. So I'm going to try and, well, I was going to try and work towards this corner. So you'll be able to see from the side camera, hopefully, you see from the side camera, you'll be able to see how I'm pulling over here and wiping over here, and at the same time I will make sure that maybe the side and the top camera are in place so that you can see the action together as I'm moving through it. But before I can stick this down and before I can actually put my clamps on permanently, we need to clean the plate. Now the plate came with a very thick protective coating. It was a plastic coating, and it looks like that. We will pull it off when we get to the bottom, right? We'll pull that off, and but for now I've already pulled the top one off, simply because it had started lifting and it was just making my life a little bit difficult. Again, this magnet is exactly square, so it doesn't matter which way we put it. As long as we put it in the center, we're good. When we turn it over and we do the other heated bed, we got to make sure what is front and what is back and where our cables will be coming out. Cables need to come out the back, right? The front being with this little cut. We've got our two corner mounts over here and the back mount over there. Okay, so I'm going to be cleaning mine with a isopropyl alcohol, just a 90% isopropyl alcohol, just to get all the grease off and that. And then going to put my clamps on, and then we're going to get going. So we've only got an hour to finish everything. So let's try and get it done before then. Shouldn't take us that long, but you never know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to spray a liberal amount all over the show and just start wiping this thing down as best I can. I just want to make sure we get any possible oils, finger marks, things like that off the surface, just to give the magnet the absolute maximum opportunity to stick. We don't want any dust on and things like that. So you'll see this machine bed actually looking, look at this, it is such a nice piece of metal. And it's so good to see a well-machined piece of metal. You know, this aluminium, well, metal, I say metal, aluminium. This is what they call, I think, plate tooling. I think they use plate tooling on this one. So, and you can see how they've machined this thing down to keep it as flat as possible. So, while that was one set, I'm going to do it with a second paper as well, just to make sure that the first paper picked up the oils, and if there's anything left, I'm going through it one more time. Remember, isopropyl alcohol evaporates, so it leaves no residue, and that's important. Don't use something that's got like an oil residue in it or something like that to clean, because you don't want to leave anything on the surface. I actually didn't expect any people to join the midweek stream. I think it's very difficult for people to do midweeks, and so this video is more intended for you that are watching it maybe at a later stage. But it's a good midweek 1 hour video, because it's probably going to take us about an hour to finish all of this. Okay, so clean. Because it's isopropyl alcohol, I'm not too worried about my fingers, although I did try not get it onto my hands too much. Next thing I'm going to do is actually put the clamps in place. And I need to try and keep the clamp away from the corners. You'll see it when I come to the other side. Let's do that one. Maybe I should, let's see if can we just do that a little bit? Yeah, it gives you a bit of a better view. You can cut the whole corner off. Right. Yeah. Make sure it's nice and tight. I'm now trying to avoid touching that surfaces at all cost, so that I don't get my fingers on it. Don't want any oil on there. Put this one on. Now look, I've got to be very careful, because these things slide off easily, because these clamps they're not the best clamps in the world. But again, this doesn't have to be absolute perfect alignment, because it doesn't affect anything really. Probably only affects me having to look at it somewhere down the road and think, why did I stick it skew? Bit of OCD. Okay, so those are now in, and I think I can now grab the magnet, and start sticking. So I'm going to work from this corner that way, so that you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully it goes as planned. Just want to think about my hands. I think I'm going to start from this corner and I'll pull it this way, and I'll wipe at the left hand that side, because my right hand will be a bit stronger to pull out this, and I can then align it that side first. Okay, so going to put that corner, this corner over there, and so just to get it started, I'm going to pull back that like that, and you can see I'm going to take a little bit of the magnet tape, and I'm probably going to pull it back to a good amount, and then just fold the edge over, right? Okay. Now preferably I don't want to touch that edge. I don't want to get finger marks on there, so I'm going to now put, holding it there, get that corner aligned, get that one aligned, slowly come down, check that it's in line over here, and there we go. So that is dropped in nicely, and you can see where, I don't know if you can see the mark. Okay, now I'm going to take this clamp off this stage, because I really want to just, goodness, I really want to make sure that this piece is very well stuck before I start lifting the sheet up. And again, you don't have to put aggressive wiping, it's just soft, just to make sure you've got no air bubbles and that everything's going in the right place. Now I'm going to leave this corner in place here. In actual fact, I'm going to reinforce this corner slightly with one or two more clamps, right? And because I really want that corner to stay in place while I'm busy. Don't really want it to move around. So let's give it the maximum amount of clamping force that we can give it, because we're now going to lift this corner and pull back this way, and I'm going to make sure that I'm still lined up with that line over there. So slightly back on that one. Okay, let's just pull it slightly, and I'm going to come back, make sure I'm in that corner still nice and tight, in that corner nice and tight. Okay, and I'm going to just slowly work it towards that piece that I pulled off. Obviously, because it's still such a small piece, I'm just going to do little bits until I'm closer, and then it'll go a little bit faster as we get closer to the whip's end. Let's go some more. Okay, make sure we're in the corner, nice and tight. Actually been looking forward to putting this down, because that's such a mess of the previous one. Had little lines on it, and I by accident had well, I think it was sent to me with the lines in it. I've actually got a spare magnet from Wham Bam, because the one that they sent me had like a mark in it. It arrived with a mark in it, and it was embedded into the magnet, and I actually didn't think much about it until I started printing, and I realized on that line I had a high spot, and it was fractional, but it was there. Sent them the video of it, sent them the video of the box, and they were very good. They replaced, sent me a new magnet, no problem. Just one of the things, and that was the second magnet that I got from them. The first magnet I got from them was very good. Obviously the replacement magnet was also spot on. Let's check, but I still need to go and I still need to attach it, and I still need to take it off, so that bed is actually lying up there, because in the meantime I put a different bed on because of the issue, and I'll get back to it at some stage. So just pulling. Let me switch to a view like that, and you can just see a little bit from this perspective what I'm doing over here. So I'm just going in underneath, and I'm just pulling it just a little bit at a time, and I'm pulling specifically towards the corner because I don't want to go straight. I want to go to that corner rather, because it just gives me the ability to push the magnet in the right direction, I think. That's my theory again. I'm sticking to it. You can decide whichever way it makes more sense for you. Now as we're starting to get towards the bigger section, I'm going to keep the hold the bed up, the magnet up as I go along, so that I can just wipe it a little bit at a time, At this point, these brackets now actually make zero difference. So I'm just going to take that bracket off, and I'm going to take this bracket off now, because I don't want it to get in the way while I'm working. And I can now pull a little bit more, and then slowly, just with a move, predominantly I'm pushing from the inside towards the outside, so that I don't get any bubbles in the middle. I shouldn't get a bubble, but nevertheless I am wiping from the inside towards the corner. Actually quite amazing, the technology, how well this 3M sticker sticks under the heat load that it gets, because I push my beds up to 110 degrees for printing with ASA. Let me tell you, if you watch Kapman's Kapman, I actually don't know how to pronounce his name. If you watch the pain that he had to go through to get that glue off that came on the sticker, my goodness, that was a job and a half. Take my hat off to him. I probably would have just stayed with the bed as it was. Yeah, so now I'm getting to the point where I can just hold it and pull it just a little bit for a little bit. It's now becoming really easy. Again, don't rush it. Don't pull too fast. Just do little bits at a time. don't pull this up and then push hard down, because you'll bend the magnet and increase the magnet. Don't. So just before you get to the magnet, before you get to the fold, stop pushing down. I'm just pushing just before it. And you can feel your fingers start touching the fold. And there you have it. We have 1 ounce bed magnet down. And again, I'm now not going to go absolutely crazy and try and push this thing, although it shouldn't, because I'm on this hard surface. It shouldn't have any effect. But I'm just going to go around the corners and just make sure I've got as much as possible the magnet down. Some guys go and put massive weights on it. Again, I don't believe in putting massive weight on it. I think by putting massive weight on it, you bring extra stresses and extra forces into it. It's not totally necessary. So I will be putting a little bit of weight on it, but very little. More because I want the magnetic, the heater bed to stick. Okay, so there you have it. Stuck. Don't throw your your spring steel sheet on it now. Okay, give it time. Let it set. Let it lie for at least 24 hours before you start putting your bed on and pulling it off and putting it on, pulling it off. Let the glue work its magic. What I will be doing, most likely tomorrow, is just nipping those corners off. I don't know if let me come back to the side camera a little bit. And I'll just bring it down. Maybe you can see it. No, it's not working. Come on. Any guess? Let me lift it like this. You look at the corner. The corners are just covered. I'm trying to hold this bed. Just covered. I'm just going to take an edge knife and just cut the shape of the countersunk screw there, so that the screw can come in and out without any issues. Okay, so that's side one. Now, as tempting it is not to put this onto this stone, because you think you're going to scratch it, the inverse of that is, if you put cardboard down and you start pushing, cardboard has flex. Cardboard will have a bit of flex. So I'm going to turn it upside down and I'm going to put it directly on the magnet. What I am going to try and do is not move it around that much, so that I don't slide on the magnet all over the show. It's going to be difficult, but I'm going to try. Okay. So let's lift this again. And flip it over. Right. And I'm purposely going to keep the front of the bed facing me and the back of the bed that way, so that at all times I know which way that cable has to go. Okay, and I'm going to try and not slide this now, because I don't really want to scratch that magnet in any way. Although this is a very smooth surface, I think it can still scratch it slightly. So the plastic I was talking about. Hey, Robert. Yeah, it is very tempting to pull the whole thing off and just go for it, but you need to really take your time, and because you're paying exuberant amount of money for that bed and that magnet, you sort of want to try and do it properly. And that's why I say to everybody, just watch multiple videos until you've actually 100% sure you know what you're doing. The other thing with this thing is, I've seen people stand, they take this thing and they yank this plastic off. And when you're yanking it, this is stuck, right? It's gonna pull that bed. It's gonna put forces and friction, forces on the bed that I don't want. Again, I might be totally wrong, but I feel that if you pull this hard enough, you're going to cause a force. Now, if you pull it to the side, maybe I'm pulling it across like this. I prefer to pull it across because then I have a diagonal point where I try to pull it as low down on this side so that I don't pull against the bed's surface, pull up from the surface, but I pull with the surface. And I just go slowly. Just take it. There's no rush. And this plastic's thick, so you don't have to worry that it's going to tear or anything. It's going to come off nice and slowly. Yeah, seems like we've got a bit of I almost want to tell you there's like a machine oil or something on the bottom here. Don't know what it is. The top surface didn't look like that. Let's see what this does. Alright, let's start cleaning it. Oh, wow. Thought it looked funny. Have a look at this. It had a double surface on it. Either that or... I don't think that's normal. Really don't think that's normal to have two surfaces, but the other side didn't have two. I wanted to say this thing looks really weird. Mr. Cat is very interested in that printer going backwards and forwards over there. He's definitely acclimatized to the study area and enjoys the printing. Well, I think he enjoys the attention because that's what he wants. Doesn't want to sit upstairs by himself. This one is the same thickness. I think they by accident put two layers on the bottom. Can't see that they would do this on purpose. But that surface looks a lot better than that. I was thinking it was like a blue sticky surface. I was like, how am I going to get this off? I didn't want to say anything. But as soon as I put the isopropyl on it, I could see this is not reacting the same as the previous surface. Can you imagine I cleaned it and stuck it to this? That would have been an absolute disaster. Let me just soak up that quickly. I must say I'm busy printing wire guides or wire holders or whatever you want to call them. I'll show you now. I climbed into Fusion 360 and well, I found one guy's stuff on the web on printables, and I looked at what he had done. I liked the clips and I liked the rails, but they were too short. But thankfully he was a nice person and he put the Fusion 360 files on the site as well, and you could download them. And I went in and I modified it, and I made myself nice long guides, and then I used a nice green RatRig green to build these little latches. I'll show you in a minute or two. Really gonna, I think it's really, maybe the back of the machine is gonna look better than the front of the machine. I'm starting to wonder about that. Maybe I should put a mirror at the back so that I can see it the whole time. Just remember what I did at the back there. Yeah, that's definitely better. So I've also got a air filter purifier going in the background here, just to suck up all the nasties in the air, that I don't stand in this nasties all night. And that's running full blast in the background here. You can't hear it. Cat, every time the cat walks past it, he like looks at this thing and thinks, "What the heck is this machine doing? Wasn't here the other night." Yeah, quite a major difference here, Robert. Yes, I would have been so annoyed with myself had I not seen that. Okay, well, let's clean it. And that should be fine. Right, so let me show you quickly what I'm printing. So I'm printing these little clips in RatRig green, and these are my cable trays that I'm going to be using, right? So the RatRig one, these just clip on, but this one actually you can hinge, you can open up, and then you put your cables in and you just clamp it closed. So it gives me a nice way to manage all my cables. And if you've got a printer, then you have to print your own cable management. You can't buy cable management. That's just wrong. So I'm printing it. So it's going to look very interesting at the back. The middle row is going to have a green back with black hinges, which is the original RatRig one, and then everything else is going to be this opposite color. So that's really going to be cool. Probably take a photo and publish it. Okay, so now we get to the heated bed. Now, I thought to myself, am I going to print the same type of brackets again for the bed? And I thought, no, you know what? I'll show you how I'm going to do it with the builder's tape and how most people would probably go about doing it. So the easiest way for me to do it is to line it up on the one side. Well, let's do it on the opposite side, yes, as you can see. Just line it up on the opposite side. Take my ruler, measure what that is. It is 40, let's say a good 48. Yeah, 48 millimeters, so 24 millimeters either side. And so 24, and then we just do it the same way. Yeah, we're going to bring it up to the front. I'm going to measure this and see what that is. It should be give or take the same. Oh, it's a little bit different. It's 46, which that's 23. So 23 and 24. Very much of a matchness, but okay. So easiest now is to take this and move it up to 24 mils on this side. .24 there. Gosh, just got it right the first time. So 24, 24, and in theory, double check, double check. There's 24. Front of the bed, back of the bed, tables at the back. Let's take this builder's tape. This builder's tape is just easy to work with, comes off nice and easily. And I'm going to take this now and just lightly push against the bed, holding it as tight as I can. And just drop that over there. Okay. And then I'm going to do on this side 23, 21, 22, 23, 20, 23, 23. So kicking the camera here. Yeah, it's a little bit more. 23, that's 25 over there. 25. So I think I just need to slightly Four. 24. Rule on that line. Again, as I said, this is not going to make the end of the world difference if it's not perfect. And again, you're also not going to see. You're not going to see the bottom ever again. Well, you're going to see it. You're probably sitting on your chair and looking up at the machine, but it's really not going to make that much of a difference in the dynamics of the plate and when you're printing. Stick that there. Okay, slide it up a bit, just touch it slightly down, and that's it. So Robert, you say your plants are not totally dead and your tomatoes are starting to do something. I can't really see mine at the back here because the lights are off. Well, if I switch the lights on, you can't see me. It looks like I've got a halo over me. So got to switch my lights off, but my hydroponics is doing well. Actually, very, very impressed with this specific dwarf tomato bush. Can I say the amount of fruit it carries? So I'm actually going to try and take some of these seeds and dry them out and grow them again, because I think that's something I want to keep. I've never dried seeds out before, so I probably need to start before I'm finished with this. Okay, now again, you'd want to try and work from a corner back, right? So I'm going to pull this corner off because I'm going to flip it over this way, and I'm going to try and work my way to that corner. Yes, it's tempting to rip the whole thing off, get it lined, and just drop it in place. But that doesn't always work as well. Because once you've dropped it, it sticks. And it sticks good and solid. So, take the corner, bend it back. Right, now I can hold this side against the tape. You can actually feel it against the tape. And I can slide that side. In the meantime, I'm keeping this side up with my fingers from the middle. I can put that there, And if you don't get it right down perfectly, don't fret about it. As long as it's give or take. Center. Okay. I can see moved just as I just about. That's the one thing, because the bed is so slippery. Be so careful when you let go that you don't bump it. Okay. All right, there we go. You can see we've only got like 9 minutes. It's taking me a bit longer. Probably talking too much. I might just run over the 1 hour by a couple of minutes, but that should be fine. Just for this week, it's just a quick sprint, and I think this was important to do this in this way. Okay, so I'm going to try and make sure that corner is aligned the whole time, and then I'll rub. The piece that I've now pulled back. Okay. And at least till I get to that corner, I want to keep this corner aligned. The tape is painful, it keeps hooking. I'm going to stick it down like that. It's actually probably easier to slide with my hands on this one, simply because the cloth sticks more to this material, this rubber plate. Okay. Listen, I've killed many plants. Hydroponics, I've gone to bed, and the next morning I came back and they were all like dead. Didn't have a clue what I didn't realize. I put the wrong stuff in the water. What do you say? I planted no more tomatoes. It's been yeah, in that little container that you've got, normal tomatoes. Yeah, that will be quite interesting, I must say. I'm looking forward to see what your house is going to look like when those things decide to catch speed. Tomatoes are like cucumbers. When it gets going, my goodness, they just go all over the show. So for those that don't know, I do hydroponics as well. You probably by this time picked it up, and I actually got into 3D printing a lot because of hydroponics, because I print little things for my hydroponics all the time. Fantastic to be able to build your own containers and build your own little housings and fittings and whatever you need. And wherever you go around my house, you'll see little things. I even build stuff for the wife's, little essential oils bottles. Yeah. But yeah, hydroponics is quite interesting. I really enjoy that. It was something I picked up, and I started while we were all hiding from COVID at home, and it just took off from there. And I've never really had a green finger, so it's actually quite interesting that I'm actually continuing with this. But it's very rewarding, and then what you can grow for yourself is quite amazing, and with relatively little effort. Yes, you can go to town, and yes, you can buy very expensive equipment, but starting off, you can just go simple, and as you feel more and more encouraged to grow bigger things in different systems. I'll give a shout out to one channel. There's a guy called Hoochers, and I've watched probably every single Hoochers video there is. I love it, and he uses 3D printing to print all these adapters. So if Hoochers is ever watching this channel, I'm an avid supporter of yours. I actually am one of his patrons at a stage. I think I was at a stage. I'm not sure if it still happened because my PayPal went wrong. But I will support him with whatever he does, and I will buy stuff off him as a patron of his when I need to. Once I got this printer up and running, I actually got 1 or 2 of his designs that I'd like to because I was part of his Patreon. I downloaded them and I was able to modify them slightly for my needs, and that's what he encourages as well. So there you go. This is sticker down. That one goes a lot. That one went a lot faster. That's because it's a lot thicker and it's a lot easier. And that's it. I mean, we don't have to do too much about that with that one. Now I can just pull my tape off, and you can see how easy that comes off. Builder's tape works really well. You actually print on builder's tape. So if you're having bed adhesion issues, or you're having a filament that sticks too well, you can lay this builder's tape down and you print on the builder's tape. And this builder's tape just comes off PLA prints and PG prints like you cannot believe. It's really fantastic. It's the cheapest thing you'll ever buy. A roll of builder's tape, painter's tape. Okay, so there's that. Just as a final thing, what I'm going to do, just to make sure, I am going to put a wooden plank down there. I'm not going to put it on these sensors because I don't want to push down on the sensors as such. I'm just going to put it over there, and I'm going to put this one as close as possible on this side. Okay, and without putting too much weight on it, let's just chuck a roll of filament on each. I might just put one extra little bit of weight on that, but I really don't want to push. I don't want to push down too hard. I just want to keep this down and also not moving too much. Although I probably don't even think this is going to make that much of a difference. The wood is never straight. So, okay. Before I sign off, let me just drop that down there and do one last thing, which will take us probably another 2 minutes. I just want to move these items out of the way. Get all the clamps out of here. Right. Get rid of this. Let me get rid of that one. This weekend. What are we doing this weekend? This weekend we get into the wiring. And so what am I doing already before that time? And something that everybody needs to do is to actually... Oh, wait a minute. That's not going to help. I need to maybe turn that slightly. You need to get into what devices you're going to need. And your main board, maybe a screen. I'm going to be putting PTC heaters in. This is an old Raspberry Pi. I need to go and get a new Raspberry Pi because I damaged my other one. I'm going to use a EBB42, which is a breakout board, which is going to go onto the extruder so that I don't have to run hundreds of cables. You might want to put on an accelerometer. If you don't have, this has got an accelerometer in it, so I'm not going to have to change that. You might want to use an accelerometer with a Raspberry with 0. I think this is a Pi 0. Okay, so you need to start thinking as you go move on, what are you going to do? I've got 2 power supplies. Why have I got 2 power supplies? Because I don't want to switch off the system and kill the Raspberry Pi the whole time, which could corrupt the software. I'd rather just switch off the printer and leave the Raspberry Pi running like a computer. Maybe I'm not going to use a Raspberry Pi. Maybe I plan to use a terminal and run Unix on it. So we need to start thinking about it. You know, switches. How many switches am I going to have? I want to switch 2 power supplies on and off. I'm going to be running beds, 2 different size beds. So how am I going to accommodate that? Well, I've got connectors that I'm doing. Am I going to use this one connector for power? Am I going to use 2 connectors for power? How am I going to put the fuses in? I'm going to be running LED strips. So these are part of the things that you need to start looking at and thinking about carefully. And so before I even get to the stream on Friday, I would have sat down and thought this whole process out as to what I'm going to need and what I'm going to, and obviously there's a lot of cabling, a lot of wires that we need, maybe some adapters. So just get yourself ready for when it gets to that point, because that takes a lot of time. And that's something you're not going to see on the stream, and it's something that you need to do before you actually get to putting everything onto the print as such. Before you start drilling holes, make sure you have every single box and bolt and box and adapter that you need, so that you can lay it out nicely. I'm already printing those rails so that I'm 100% ready. Anyways, that's it for the evening. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Robert Huchos, he's really good. You can watch every single one of his videos. There's a lot to be learned from him. Anyways, give the video a thumbs up, please, and make sure you got the subscribe button pushed if you haven't subscribed before, and we will see you on the weekend. Have a good evening and the rest of the week. Cheers for now.